Hey, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Michael.
Welcome to the Anchored Mind podcast.
We are on a mission to redefine care by combining counseling, nutrition, and fitness so that you can live a better life.
Yeah. And today we are talking about our children's eating habits and how trying to control them and get them to like certain foods, dislike other foods, and make the quote right choices in the right situations, all that really just backfires in the end and really can get in the way of our children having a healthy relationship with food that we ultimately desire for them so that they can make balanced and solid choices as they age.
Let's dive in.
We're talking about how when we try and control our children's eating habits, it really just backfires.
What do you mean by control?
Think we try and intervene and help our kids decide how much to eat and when to stop eating, like when they should be full. We try and help them make a better choice instead of something sugary or desirable. We get in the way. We intervene in their internal cues.
Yeah. What do you think drives that in us as parents?
Fear and anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, if I see one of our kids, overindulging in something sugary, probably makes me a little uncomfortable. And
It is uncomfortable.
yeah.
I think we have so much knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it with our kids. We feel it.
Yeah. I think I fear them becoming addicted to sugary things and maybe that getting in the way of them being able to enjoy other foods, which is that going to affect their nutrition in the long term or like how they grow?
Yeah. I've seen you do it. I've seen you get uncomfortable and want them to eat the quote right thing instead of the sugary thing. Or we both felt that moment where we look at each other like, should we intervene and stop them from eating what they're eating right now? Or how do we respond when they ask for seconds? Right.
Yeah. So you're saying by intervening or trying to control how they enjoy their food, it is going to backfire.
Yeah.
And what do you think would be like the consequences, the backfire?
Because by intervening, we take away their ability to listen to their internal cues, to listen to their instincts of kids are really good at listening to when they're full. And
So it's almost like we distract them from listening to their body because they're going to turn their attention on how we as parents react.
yeah, and all external cues.
Okay, so yeah, it turns their attention to external cues instead of internal cues.
Right. Instead of listening to themselves. How should I feel right now? Should I want this? Should I stop right now? And then their intuition is, they're overriding their intuition, basically.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think just from as a mental health counselor, whenever I have parents come into my room and we're talking about their relationship with their kids, and let's say they're struggling with trying to get their kids to perform at a certain level with sport, with school, it makes me think about their relationship with food and how you're saying if a parent is, let's say, over promoting a sense of control around how their child is eating, it just makes me think that that's going to not only get in the way of the relationship between the parent and the child, it's also going to get in the way of the relationship that the child is developing with their food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And a relationship with food is based off of internal instincts. Like, how do we know when to stop eating cake if it tastes that good? We can't really control ourselves. Willpower isn't really a thing unless if we are listening to our body, we're going to be able to regulate ourselves. And that's what we really want for our kids. We want them to be able to enjoy a slice of cake without overdoing it. But if we don't trust them to feel what is too much, they can't learn to do that themselves. And we've intervened.
How do we develop trust?
By letting them, I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes me wonder, it's like, do we just close our eyes and not observe anything? Like just almost blindly trust that maybe just like most of the human population, we kind of figure it out as we grow, as we develop. And I'm kind of what I'm kind of hearing from you is the more we intervene, the more we risk sabotaging that natural development, that natural growth with the food relationship.
I think the more we teach them and we turn it back to them and we tell them we trust them, the more we help them listen to their bodies instead of listen to us, the more we're supporting that internal cue or that relationship with food in their body, right?
Yeah.
We have to turn it back to them. Like if you are feeling hungry, I want to honor that. And that hunger could, as parents, we would look at what they're eating and say, you can't be hungry. You have eaten more than I've eaten and your stomach is smaller than us. That's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. That's our instinct, right? But if we can pull back and honor that feeling, and they may not be feeling legitimately hungry in their stomach. They may be feeling more sensory hungry. They may have smelled cake. They may have heard the sizzle of sauteing chicken. They may have seen you eating a bowl of cereal and they feel hungry. But by honoring that feeling, we're letting them figure out what's going on inside them instead of intervening.
It's funny. I mean, even as you were just giving those examples, I tested that on myself while you were talking. I'm like, the sizzle of the chicken, does that make me hungry right now? Like, it sounds good. Yeah, it's crazy how, so there's different types of hunger signals.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then if our goal is to remove as much external, it almost sounds like external distraction from them developing this internal sensitivity to their hunger cues, what is our job as parents?
I intend to encourage people to guard what comes into the house, create a safe place for eating, make it a house that you really support, like bring in foods that you really care about. But then once it's inside the house, we need to trust everyone individually to eat as much as they need, because everybody's needs are different based on their growth, based on their activity, based on maybe just their emotions that day. But that it needs to be a safe place where we're trusting everybody and not trying to control.
Yeah. And another thing that comes to mind as you're saying that is just the different types of humans, right? Like we all know about the Enneagram and maybe Myers-Briggs and these different personality, but that all that really highlights is that there is no single type of human. There's not a universal approach as it relates to each of our own unique innate needs, which then inform our emotions, how we feel. And oftentimes, the majority of our decisions or just our choices are informed by how we feel. Mm-hmm. So it runs pretty deep as far as even our basic operation. And this starts to really take shape as early as 2 years old. So once that personality is starting to form on top of our unique natures, then we're really seeing the expression of unique emotions. Like it makes me think we have 3 girls and they're all at different stages right now. Our oldest obviously is very extroverted and people oriented, and you can just almost like feel not only her anxiousness, but also excitement around when there's a treat, for example, or when it's time to eat and she's hungry. Like she shows that, the energy it's just fun.
And the impulsiveness that comes from some of that energy. Like we do see that.
And then not to go too deep here, but like that impulsiveness or that excitement even lands differently with me and Kristen. And like, because we have our own wiring and we have our own emotions. And so like for me, it might scare me a little bit and think I need to, intervene. But just because I feel that doesn't mean that's the right thing to do for her, even if it feels like it's the right thing to do for me. And then I think of our middle child, he was basically the complete opposite. She's introverted and more task oriented, kind of perfectionistic, can be a little moody, and she's a lot more melancholic as it relates to mealtime. It's almost temperamental. We hope she's hungry, but sometimes she doesn't even look like she's hungry. It's so funny, the expressions.
And I would say the opposite of impulsive. She doesn't tend to eat like that.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Unless it's sugar.
Yeah.
But it still makes me think of how, and I'm sorry to be too long-winded with this, but to land the plane, I do think it shows how, as parents, we have to constantly adapt. not only to what we prefer or what we feel or what we value, but we have to adapt to our child's needs. And it's not to prioritize what quote unquote the right thing to do is, because it changes based on the unique nature and personality of each of our kids. It's preserving the relationship with them so that they can develop that on their own. I mean, we're raising adults, right? We're not raising children.
Yeah. So really our job, let's use our oldest, for example.
Yeah.
She likes fun. She likes treats. She likes all the excitement that comes with food. And our job is to sit in that with her, right? To preserve the relationship, to avoid shame, to avoid labeling certain foods as bad foods or good foods, and to also sit with her in the feelings that come from overeating or from undereating, to be with her in those moments and let her learn from those things and to support her in figuring that out.
Yeah.
Right? Because we may know what that feels like, but if we intervene and don't let her feel that, then she isn't able to make decisions from those internal cues the next time.
That makes sense. It's almost like it stunts her ability to practice what you would call intuitive eating. Right?
Yeah. It's really painful. I mean, as a dietitian and their mom, it's super painful to sit there and watch, as I'm making chocolate chip cookies with them or something, is to watch them overeat on something that I know has a high saturated fat content, has high added sugar content. But to watch her sit there afterward and experience what comes from that, and to say, my tummy hurts, and for us to sit there and connect those experiences is super powerful.
Yeah,
but very hard.
I remember the first time you made chocolate chip cookies, and I was like, what? I was so surprised. But I remember you also explaining to me that you were exposing the girls to all types of different foods, because all foods are food. They're not good or bad. They're just food, and they all have different nutrients, right? And that was helpful for me as just your fellow parent and husband. Be like, okay, I can align with that. That makes total sense. And it kind of gives you, at least I felt this, a sense of freedom that I don't need to, again, control everything that shows up on our kitchen table. It's more just like I need to provide the kitchen table and put parameters around mealtime. And, there's a structure, there's almost a pasture for them to run freely in. Is that?
Yeah. Our job is simply to provide the food. And I think that includes, most of the time having nutritious, powerful foods at home that really support growth and development, but then also having some fun things too, and some things that we would consider treats, because the reality is we can't control what is outside of our home, and these kids are going to experience those foods without us. And the more we can help them learn how to do that inside our home, the more they're going to be able to do that outside. But, frequency does matter too. Making chocolate chip cookies all the time is also probably not the best thing for our health or their health. So kind of being an example to them that we do this now and then and we really enjoy it, but we don't do it all the time, helps them kind of grow up with that as their normal. And then,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing it really is about, as we would maybe say in the therapy room, connection over correction or relationship over information. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say information or even course correction is not important. There's a time and a place for that. But as parents, especially as younger kids, but all the way up right to adolescence, we should be prioritizing the relationship and protecting that, not only between the family members, but also between each individual and their eating. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Letting, again, we are focusing, you and I need to stay focused on choosing what to provide for meals. They don't need to dictate what we serve. They don't need to decide what groceries come in. They can have an influence, I think. We want to care about their preferences and honor those preferences here and there. But ultimately, we need to make a balanced meal. We need to make a balanced snack and serve it. And then they really get to decide if they want to eat it or not. They get to be hungry if they want. That's just not our job.
I think an example that comes to mind too is back to our oldest, it was one of those times where you guys were making chocolate chip cookies, and I think she ate a bunch of the chocolate chips. And I remember her on her own, I actually felt so proud of her. She was like, my tummy hurts. And she put the dots together. I think I ate too many chocolate chips. And I really, especially as a dietitian, I admired you for kind of letting it happen so she could have that learning experience. And I do really think that stuck with her.
Yeah. I mean, believe me when I say it's hard internally. I mean, I know what a tablespoon of calories is in chocolate chips. I know all the facts behind it. It doesn't make it easier except for I know what damage I can do if I step in. If I don't let her learn her own experiences and learn herself, then I'm really doing more damage and than being helpful.
Can we talk about that part for a second? As parents, and I'm not going to put you on the chopping block.
Okay,
I'll join you, but
I can handle that.
I know you can. She's pretty tough. So, you align with what's called the choleric temperament, where you're a natural leader. It's part of the reason I'm very attracted to you. I think a vision comes to mind very easily, and you kind of know the direction that things need to go in most situations. So where that might, I would imagine, be a challenge is when you're parenting in the kitchen. One of your innate needs, I happen to know, is having a sense of control.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean being controlling, even though it might come across that way to people with different wirings.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? Like, how do you manage, let's say, this innate need of needing a sense of control, that probably informing feelings,
Mhm.
and then those feelings leading to the way you speak or even the decisions you make as a parent?
Yeah. I'm trying really hard to figure that out every day. It's hard. It's obviously that's my strength is planning the meals, planning the snacks, knowing what serving sizes are appropriate, making all those decisions. And then when someone gets a bag of something out of the pantry and is eating it and it's hard for me not to step in and want to fix that the feeling and the loss of control that I feel. That's difficult and I think the thing that I'm just trying to do is to act low key. Even if I
Just
feel
chill.
not low key, I'm trying to act low key because I know that really I need to be with them in that moment. And that the last thing I want them to feel inside of our home is shame around food or like they need to cope with that desire in different ways. I don't want them feeling like they have to sneak that food or
Or hide.
hide or eat it when they're outside of the house or overeat it when they're outside the house because it doesn't feel safe within the house. Like that's not what I want to create. So even though and they probably sense that sometimes from me, some discomfort, but I'm trying really hard to sit with them in it. And
Yeah, that's really good.
I don't know.
Yeah. And just to jump in with you, I'm more of what's known as the melancholic temperament, just like our middle child. And I like things to be perfect. And as we all know, nothing is. So I think there are times where I might imagine whatever perfection is. Obviously, that's not conscious, and it informs my expectations and maybe even like leads to a little bit of anxiety when something doesn't feel perfect. And that could be like, it's just our baby is making a mess in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. There's oatmeal everywhere and peanut butter all over the place. But like you, I have to try and take some deep breaths and chill and remember it's almost like these kids are going to have snapshots that stick with them about these experiences around food and around family mealtime and things like that. And I try and remember that that's more important than my preferences,
Yeah.
which is hard.
Yeah. I think that the thing that I try and focus on the most, coming from my perspective as a dietitian, as a mom of these three girls, as someone who's trying to prevent unhealthy relationships with food, and I'm with them more of the meals than you are right now. So I'd say that like I'm having to practice this more
Working
than
on that.
yeah. We want him home more, but the meals just kind of that's one of my duties at home. I take on that responsibility because I enjoy it, but I'm trying to create this environment where I kind of choose the foods at home in a way that I choose ones that I feel really good about serving.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're in the house, I feel good if the kids choose to overeat on them, if they choose to not eat and then eat a lot at one meal or I just feel good. I feel proud of what I put in the home. And if I do that, then when we go outside the home, it allows me to offer opportunities for treats or for exciting opportunities around foods that we don't typically have. It lets me give them autonomy because serving sizes are kind of controlled. So, it's still kind of like satisfies my red because I'm controlling what food is in the home, even though I'm not controlling their eating habits. And then there's a little bit of control in the fact that, like, when you go out to eat, there's portion sizes, there's single servings, but it's fun for the children that like that type of thing and want to indulge now and then and have some fun. And yeah, that to me, that's helping me manage those different aspects a
Like
little
you're trying to
bit.
create a balance.
Yeah.
Cool. So to sum it up, what do you feel like that we are doing in a practical way that's working well for at least for our family that maybe anyone who's listening to this might benefit from?
Trying not to make them eat their vegetables.
That's kind of counterintuitive.
Me not putting any pressure on foods, I think is helping.
Okay. Because when there's no pressure,
Yeah.
that creates calm, and
Mhm.
calm allows for them to make their own choices.
Yeah.
If they feel pressure, then you are risking them maybe resisting
Mhm.
or tensing up in any way, or again, like you said earlier, being distracted by that external stimulus or
Mhm. External cue.
external cue
Yeah.
versus learning how to listen to their own internal cues.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, it's been kind of difficult because, again, our
Yeah.
kids are under 4.5, all 3 of them, and so they're in and out of their seats all the time. It's like to actually sit for dinner, but that's been our one consistent rule is just sit down for dinner. It's
Yeah.
just be at the table until we're all finished. You don't have to eat. You don't have to eat anything I put on your plate, but just sit.
And it also, maybe last thing is just the nature of how temporary things are. Like, even our oldest who's on her way to 5, I've watched her move from almost like that impulsive presentation, that excitable,
Mhm.
from her wiring, of course. But now I also see in her stages of development, as she's getting a little bit older, she is like excited to make us proud.
Yeah.
Like, look, mommy and daddy, I'm eating all my food on the plate. Or, I know that chicken's good for me. I know that broccoli's good for me. And it's like, there's like no strings attached. It's just her own choice. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool to watch.
And I
So,
think part of that is healthy. I think talking about foods as they benefit our body is a
Yeah.
healthy thing for kids to know. Like we talk about like, "Oh, we're making salmon tonight and salmon's good for our brain." We always talk about that. But when it actually comes to putting it on their plate,
mhm.
I feel passionately that we can't put any pressure on them to actually eat that salmon. They're going to base that decision on how they feel. Does it smell good? Does it look good? Do I really want to have a bite? No. But we've talked about salmon in a way that keeps it friendly and lighthearted and gives them a little information to like make their decision later when they're ready.
It's great.
It's hard to throw away all those plates of food though. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, but I see the method to your madness.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's all about giving them those experiences.
Because really we do no good if we pressure our kids. Like I was talking to a dad of 4 children the other day, and he's an awesome cook and makes fantastic salads. And in order to have dessert, he was really putting the pressure on his daughter to have that bite of avocado because we know avocados are so great for us. And he is passionate about his health and cares about his daughter so much, and as do we. And we know what that feels like, but I don't think that made her really like avocado,
Yeah.
right? And does that actually create a good relationship with the avocado, or are we just doing it to get to the cookie? And does that really create, does that neutralize the cookie, or does that create more emotion around it and make us desire that more and desire the avocado less? So,
And then do you think it could even risk the relationship between her and the father?
yeah,
Yeah.
because it probably doesn't feel like that he trusts her to eat what she needs for her body, right? We're
Yeah.
intervening in that moment.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But we have the best of intentions because, we have all this knowledge. We care. We
Mhm.
love them.
We have knowledge and we care.
We want what's best for them.
Sounds like another balance.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Chris and I are part of a group practice called Anchored Mind in Roswell, Georgia, and we have a website with some resources on it. So if it feels like you could use a little bit more support or want to learn more, feel free to check us out at anchoredmind.care. Thanks for listening.